Good morning, everyone. I want to start with something slightly unusual. I would like you to just take for a moment, put down anything you are holding, close any tabs that are not this webinar. And if you're on a phone, please flip it face down so we can all focus, concentrate. So that moment of putting something down, that tiny act of choosing where your attention goes, that is exactly we are going to talk today. My name is Ira Naim and I'm a licensed clinical psychologist at Mir Psychiatry Clinic here in Dubai. And today's conversation is one that I believe is long overdue in most workplaces. We're going to talk about work life boundaries, but I want to be clear from the very first minute this is not a time management workshop. I'm not here to give you productivity hacks or a color coded planner system. We are not here to talk about how can we increase our productivity. This is a mental health conversation about your brain, your nervous system, your relationships, and your life. So we got almost like maybe 35 minutes. So let's make every one of them count. It matters. If you are here today, please, I request you to focus and pay attention because this is something is really important for our mental health. Before I tell you anything, I want to ask you three questions. And I want you to answer them with complete honesty, not for me, but for yourself. So, the question one, I hope everyone is listening to me. We are 243 people. Wow. So, the question one is this morning, before you had a conscious thought of your own, before you had water, before you had said good morning to the person next to you, did you check your work message? And the question two, when did you last take a full lunch break? Away from your desk, away from your phone, without feeling guilty, without the little voice that said you shouldn't really be sitting here. There's too much to do. And the question three, and I really want to focus on the question number three. This Sunday, 2 days ago, last Sunday evening, what did you feel as the day moved towards the evening? Did you feel rested, ready, glad for the week ahead, or did something in your chest tighten? A low level dread that quietly moves in around 6 p.m. every Sunday, regardless of how good the weekend was. So basically, that Sunday evening has a clinical name. It's called anticipatory anxiety, and it is one of the most reliable early indicators that the boundary between your work and your life has eroded. So I ask you guys three questions. From these three questions, whatever question you relate with, please type the answer in the chat box. You can write one, two, three. And if three of them they resonate with you, please type one, two, three. We are 261, and I think we can expect at least 50 responses. So I can also have bit motivation. Everyone is listening to me, so I'm very excited to share the further information with you all. So please let me know which question resonates most with you. Because I can be honest with you, before, when I woke up today, the first thing I had on my mind is Shivani. Okay, today I have a webinar. I just need to make sure that I close my calendar accordingly and I'm ready. And I went into my phone and I checked the presentation that, oh, it's ready. Thank you. We have few responses. I really appreciate. 333, 1 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. That's amazing. Okay. Most of us connect with the three, and I totally understand. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. So, if most of you can relate with these three questions, it means let's pay a little bit more attention to this conversation we're going to have. So, you can actually take maybe a small, very minor step towards your mental well being. So let me show you what the research says. Because sometimes when we have been normalizing everything for so long, we need the data to hold up a mirror. 77%, that is a proportion of workers who have experienced burnout at their current job. Current. According to Deloitte 2023 Global Wellbeing Report, not at some point in their career, at their current job. Right now, look at the people you work with. 3 in 4 of them, that's a 77%. 2.5 times, that's how much more likely an employee is to leave their organization when boundaries are consistently violated. Not slightly more likely, 2.5 times. Leaders, that is a retention crisis, I believe. 23%, the increase in heart attack risk associated with chronic overwork stress, documented by the World Health Organization and the International Labour Organization in 2021. This is not a burnout as a metaphor. This is burnout in your cardiovascular system, which operates your whole body and your life. And here, specifically in the UAE, 55 billion hours. 55 billion hours of unpaid overtime worked annually by professionals in this country, according to U Government UAE 2023 survey, hours that were not paid, hours that were not chosen, hours that belong to someone's family, to someone's recovery, or to someone's self. So these numbers are not abstract. They are the people in this room, and we are, wow, more than 300. So they may be already you. And that is exactly why this conversation matters. So before we understand anything, we really want to know what does it mean by work-life boundaries? Because what I have observed on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, the word boundaries has been used so much in the last few years that it started to feel like a buzzword, honestly. So let me give you the clinical definition because the clinical definition changes everything. Work-life boundaries are the cognitive, physical, temporal, and emotional limits a person establishes to protect their identity, their energy, and their well-being from role-related demands. At your work, you are performing a role. And apart from that role, you are a human being, you are a person. So once you have any sort of limitations between your role and who you are, that's what it's called boundaries. Not to work less, honestly, managers or if there are employers in this conversation, I'm not here to tell people work less because we have a very wrong concept about boundaries. Work life boundaries are the cognitive, physical limitations. Not to work less, not to care less, not to be less ambitious. Actually, it's to work sustainably, to protect the very cognitive and emotional resources that make excellent work possible in the first place. So, basically, as you can see on the screen, there are three types of boundaries, and most people are only aware maybe one of it. The first is temporal. It's very important one. When work starts and when it stops, the hour that belongs to the organization and the hour that belongs to you. This is the boundary that most people try first and find hardest to keep because you don't know when to stop, which hour now it does not belong to work. The second is physical and spatial, where work happens and where it does not. The home office is a workspace. The dining table ideally is not. The bedroom is absolutely not. When every room in your home is a potential workspace, your nervous system can never signal safety, and safety is a prerequisite to rest. because somehow we have associated work with the sense of lack of safety, is a rush that all the time we need to be functioning. And the third one is the one almost nobody talks about, is cognitive and emotional. The internal separation that allows you to be fully present at work when you are at work and fully present at home when you are there, not half present everywhere. So it's about a mental capacity to separate two different spaces. Boundaries are not having less, they are being more present, more focused, more alive to whatever actually is in front of you. For example, right now, if this webinar and era is in front of you, are you fully present? Or maybe some other tabs are open, even on your laptop or even in your head. So are you fully present? That's what boundary looks like. Now, I think I want to introduce you to someone. I've seen this person in my clinic. His name is Umar. He's 34 years old. He's operation manager at a tech company in DIFC. He's good at his job, genuinely impressively good. His team says he's the hardest working manager they have ever had. His company has quietly been looking at him for a promotion. Umar answers Slack messages at 10 p.m., not because anyone is forcing him to, but because, as he explains, it's just faster. He skips lunch most of the days because there's too much on. He hasn't taken his full annual leave entitlement since 2022. He took a few days here and there, but always with his laptop. His wife has started saying something that cuts deeper than any performance reviewer ever has. She says, "You are here, but you are not here." At his last checkup, his doctor mentioned his blood pressure is higher than it should be for a 34 years old. Umar nodded and made a mental note to exercise more. He hasn't found the time yet. He decided, but he did not started. Umar has not believed that he has a boundary problem. He believes that he just needed to get through this quarter, this busy, demanding, extraordinary quarter. It's been it has been a busy quarter maybe for 4 years already, and he doesn't realize that. Umar is not a character I invented for our PowerPoint. It's a composite of hundreds of real people who have sat in my clinical room. Umar is the person this culture creates and then celebrates because it's hardworking and then watches quietly falling apart. The culture of always on is not something that happens to us accidentally. It was built by technology that removed the natural endpoint of working day, by a corporate methodology that equates exhaustion with dedication, by fear, real rational fear of not being seen as less committed, less valuable, and more disposable. These are the structural forces we are pushing against, and understanding them is the beginning of dismantling them. Because why do we have this fear that I am disposable? And because of that fear, we just keep going. So, what boundary actually is? And now we are going to look at the neuroscience, because whenever, whatever, we have to go inside your brain. Because once you understand what is happening neurologically in your brain, you know what? Before I say this, I want all of you to actually acknowledge your brain as an organ, because we understand my heart is an organ, my lungs is organ, my stomach is organ, but hardly we acknowledge that my brain is an organ, and we think everything is in my head, and I will just put up more with it. It's in my control, I can do it. But let me tell you, if you think that it's all in your head, you are absolutely wrong. Because our brain is an organ and it has a chemistry, and that chemistry is the one that determines everything that you do: sleeping, eating, feeling, doing, memory, emotions. Everything is controlled by the brain. So, what happens when there is a problem is going on in our brain due to lack of boundaries with work? Stage one, it's called cortisol overload. Cortisol overload is when you are chronically stressed at work. Not occasionally, not for a week because you have an event. It's chronically for a long time, for weeks or maybe months. Your body continuously produces cortisol. Initially, cortisol is helpful. It sharpens attention, it mobilizes energy, but sustained cortisol elevation over weeks, over months, or maybe year, you become physically less resilient, more susceptible to illness, less able to remember what you went into a room for. Stage two is prefrontal atrophy. This is the one that frightens me most as a psychologist because under sustained work stress, gray matter, actual brain tissue begins to shrink in the prefrontal cortex. And if you are one of that attendee who attended with me this webinar before, I'm sure you have heard this term from me: prefrontal cortex, amygdala, because prefrontal cortex is the one that actually helps you to make decisions, to control your impulses, to do your emotional regulation, your empathy. So you literally become less rational, less patient, less able to make good judgment, not because you have changed as a person, but because the physical substract to those have been depleted. And the stage three is amygdala hijack. So, as the prefrontal cortex weakens, the amygdala, the brain's alarm centers, becomes more hyperactive. Minor frustration begin to feel catastrophe. Traffic feels unbearable. A slight, emails feels like a personal attack. Your patience with your children, it evaporates in seconds, and you are more reactive. The short fuse that your family has started to notice, that is not who you are becoming. That is what cortisol and sleep deprivation do to a good brain. And stage four, default mode collapse. When there is no recovery time, no genuine rest, the brain resting network, called the default mode network, never activates. This is the network responsible for creativity, for self reflection, for empathy, for insight. It is where your best ideas come from, where you understand other people, where you imagine the future. Chronic overwork doesn't just exhaust you, it silences the most profound human parts of your cognition or your brain. You cannot willpower your way out of neurological deficit. You cannot say it's all in my head, it's okay, I'll get better. To get better, you need rest. You need actual real rest. And to get real rest, you need boundaries, work life boundaries. Now, the three stages of burnout are in front of you on your screen. Let me know where you are at. Because the first one is a stress and overload, where you are always busy but rarely satisfied. Sleep is lighter, harder to switch off. Weekends feel too short to recover. Irritability creeping in at home and with your relationships. Motivation still present but strained. You don't like it. The second stage is disengagement, where work feels meaningless and joyless. You don't care. You go to work because you just have to go to work. Emotional numbness, going through motions. Cynicism, very negative about your colleagues and leadership, always complaining about your colleagues and leadership or feeling bad and frustrated the way they are. Physical symptoms, headaches, gut issue, body pains, not able to sleep, isolation, withdrawing from social contacts, always canceling plans, and rather than wanting to stay at home on the weekend to recover. The third stage is collapse and depletion. Cannot function at basic professional level. Chronic fatigue, memory concentration severely impaired, anxiety or depression firmly present. Medical leave often requires at this stage. So now look at it and ask yourself, which stage are you at? One, two, or three? Keep your responses to yourself. No need to share. But if you can really ask yourself, take a screenshot of this screen and just, it's a self-reflection. Once you understand this, once you understand what boundary is not to work less, it to work and to recover. And understanding where do I stand right now, let's look at this scale. Now, this scale is, I call it audit. Do your audit. 0 mean never, 1 means sometimes, 2 mean often, and 3 means always. And Shivani, I think I will share this presentation with you. And specifically, if you, when you open this presentation, maybe take a print out of this slide or maybe take a screenshot of this slide and do your audit. Look at your score. Where do you stand? Because you don't need a doctor to tell you you have problem with boundaries. You don't need a psychologist. Ask yourself and do your audit by yourself. And if you think that, yes, I really need to make a change, then you need to do something about it. And what do you need to do about that? That's what is the next 10 minutes we are going to talk about. But before that, why do we think that boundaries, they feel really, really hard to implement? Because so much goes on in the background. It's like fear of abandonment, fear of losing a job, fear of not doing enough, fear of not getting the promotion, imposter syndrome, feeling like work is everything. Because honestly, most of us, within our 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, work is almost everything to us. Our career is everything because that's what we have learned to sustain myself, not only financially, but also to have a respect in a culture. I need to have a good career. I need to pay my bills, but also my respect is hugely associated with my title. So now, in order to get that title, I would do everything that I want to do. Also, we forget that maybe work is also a passion. It's a purpose that we should have every morning. But living in this world, we also need to pay our bills and take care of ourselves and our family. So I do understand the fear is there. But if the fear is there, we, I'm not saying we need to eliminate that fear. We have to manage that fear. That yes, work is work, but I'm also a human being. So evidence-based strategies is the one that we will spend next 10 minutes talking about. If Ira is saying we need to have boundaries, so what exactly we can do? Obviously, I'm not here to tell you to resign or to stop coming to work or stop performing while you are at work. What are the things that you can do? So basically, let's talk about the temporal boundaries because temporal boundary strategy one is all about time. As I said in the beginning, when work starts, when it ends, and what happens in between. The research here is basically is very compelling. Workers who implement strict off-time communication boundaries show a 25% reduction in cortisol level. And it's not me. These numbers are by researchers. It improves the sleep quality, and this is the part that surprises most people, increase next day cognitive performance. not decreased, increased. Rest is not the enemy of performance, it is a prerequisite. The first tool is what I call the hard to stop. It's the hard stop. You choose a fixed end time for your working day. Maybe many people will not like what I'm saying, but what to do? This is science. You put in your calendar, and 4 out of 5 working days, you keep it without exception, without apology. This is not about leaving work unfinished. It's about respecting the fact that your brain requires recovery to do excellent work tomorrow. The second tool is notification window. Rather than having a work email and messaging available and pinging you continuously throughout your working hours, you designated 3 fixed check-in windows: morning, midday, late afternoon. Outside those windows, notifications are off. You don't need to sit in front of your laptop and same time connected with your emails or your phone. Whatever you are doing, do that and go to email only 3 times a day. The evening curfew. No work communication after a set time. The research suggests 8 p.m. as the outer limit. Brief your team, let them know most genuine emergency can wait until morning, and the emergency that cannot wait will always find a way to reach out to you through a phone call. So, no messages. And the recovery block. The 30 minutes in your calendar schedule as protected time between the end of formal work and the beginning of your evening. Not another meeting, not email catch up, a genuine transition. Once you finish the work and now you're going to start your evening, take a half an hour where you do nothing at all. Maybe you can have a transition through movement, silence, fresh air, human connection, because the brain needs a landing strip. Now, strategy 2 is psychological detachment. That was about time and space. This is about psychological detachment. Actually, there is one professor, Sabine, has spent 20 years studying occupational recovery. And her finding is very unique. The single strongest predictor of mental health and cognitive performance recovery is not the number of hours away from work. It's the degree of psychological detachment from work during those hours. So you cannot say that, oh, I stopped working at 6 p.m. and I did not do any work until 8 a.m., but I'm still not well. I am still not recovered because psychologically you are still thinking about it. So what can be done is, first of all, to detach that. The first thing is physical movement, and it's very important because when we work, mostly we are sitting, so there is a lot of lactic acid in our body. So when you do this transition, 20 to 30 minutes of walking after work reduces work related rumination by 38%. Second is the transitional ritual, a consistent, repeatable signal that work is done. For example, write tomorrow's 3 priorities. Close every application. Say aloud, and I mean actually say aloud, work is done. Many times I say, oh my God, the day is done. So say it loudly so your brain get the signal that the work is done, then step away. And the third is nature exposure, which hardly we have in UAE, but 20 minutes in any green or natural space reduces cortisol by 21.3%. We don't have that, so maybe you can figure out something where you can go and where you can get that. And the fourth is absorption, not passive consumption, absorption. A hobby, a sport, a creative practice, a conversation that demands a full presence. When you're fully absorbed in something, work thoughts cannot find a gap to enter. So, really have something in the evening that really consumes your brain and your attention. It can also be connecting with your family member or maybe your child or maybe with your partner. Now, the next strategy 3 is the skill of strategic no, saying it without burning bridges. And I think this is the hardest part for us to understand. I think if I say no, it means I am burning my bridges. If I say no, that person is gonna think that I am not capable. If I say no, that person will stop relying on me. If I say no, that person might think that I am not capable of it. So I don't say no because I don't want to burn my bridges. I have to go back to it. So, so the how can you say no? Situation one, someone messages you after hours and expects a response. The old response is, sure, I'll look at it now, you know, said with a smile. Felt at resentment, the new response can be, thanks for sending this. I'll address it first thing in the morning at 9 a.m. You'll have my full attention on it then. This does three things. It acknowledges the message, it communicates a specific time, and it signals gently but clearly that your evenings are not available. Situation two, you are asked to work over the weekend. The old response is, I suppose I can if you really need it. The new response is, I protect my weekends so I come back fully recovered on Monday. If this is genuinely urgent, let's agree on exactly what I can contribute and what can wait until next week. This is not a refusal, it's a negotiation. It communicates your value to the team while holding the boundary. Situation 3, you are already at full capacity and someone adds another work task. The old response is, no problem, said with an expression that communicates a precise opposite. The new response can be, I want to give this the quality it deserves. Help me understand which of my current priorities this sits above so I can sequence accordingly. This turns a potential confrontational moment into a collaborative one. It signals competence, not resistance. And situation 4, you have a manager who expects 24 by 7 availability. The new response said in a one to one conversation, not by email. I want to be transparent with you about something. I do my best work when I can fully recover between work days. Can we discuss together what urgency threshold genuinely requires an evening response from me and what can wait until the next morning? This is the most difficult conversation. It is also the most important one. And most of us actually are afraid to have difficult conversation, not only with our colleagues or with our managers, but also with our partners. And we just have to understand, either you do this difficult conversation and protect yourself, or you don't do this conversation and you don't protect your health. Choice is purely yours. Yes, I understand there are fears associated with saying no to people, having these boundaries at work, or even in our relationships, because we don't want to lose it. We don't want to feel guilty. We don't want to feel useless or not competent enough. But you have to say it if you want to protect your health. You are in your 20s and 30s and 40s. Organs are amazing, young, you are working. But all this cortisol collection over years, it starts to impact your health when there is a lot that your body cannot handle. The strategy 4 and the last one is environmental design. Make healthy choices the default. So you don't even feel like I am doing it's a boundary. It's your environment design in a such a way that you feel like this is normal. So James Clear, I don't know, most of you have read this book Atomic Habits. I read it many times. So James Clear wrote in Atomic Habits, you do not rise to the level of your intentions, you fall to the level of your systems. And nowhere is this more true than in work-life boundaries. Environmental design is basically is the art of making the healthy choice, the automatic choice, so that you do not have to fight yourself 100 times a day that, oh my God, boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Your bedroom, phone, phones charge outside the bedroom. This is a non-negotiable in the research. Charging your phone next to your bed means it is the last thing you interact at night and first thing in the morning. A 15 dirham, alarm clock solves this completely. Melatonin, the hormone that prepares your brain to sleep, requires darkness and screen-free time to accumulate. When you protect your bedroom, you protect your sleep. And when you protect your sleep, you protect almost everything. Your meal times. Phone face down during meal times. Please don't look at your phones when you are eating. Not just for the mindfulness or physiology. Distracted eating activates the sympathetic nervous system. It impairs digestion. It prevents the genuine transition between contexts that your nervous system needs multiple times throughout the day. Your workspace, one task open at a time. Yes, many people want to believe on a multitasking. Notifications off during focused work. Your personal phone out of sight line, not just silence, but invisible. Do not keep it on your desk. Research shows that the more mere presence of smartphones on a desk reduces available cognitive capacity. Even when the phone is face down and silent, it doesn't need to ring to distract you. Its presence is enough because your mind is there thinking about it. So I think most of you understand what can you do. So maybe make a plan for yourself so I can give 10 minutes for the question answer. And here is your 5-day boundary reset plan. Not, I will start doing this next week or next month, maybe from August, not from July. If you take a screenshot of this slide, you can actually start it. Day one is going to be the audit. Open your screen time tracker on every devices. Write the total hours down on paper. Then look specifically how many of those hours were outside of your stated working times. Because I believe in UAE, we all have 7 to 8 hours or maybe 9 hours of work. Day two, one hard stop. Choose a finish time before you begin work. Day three, notification curve. At 7 p.m., turn off every non-essential work notification on your phone. Day four, recovery activity. 30 minutes an activity that fully absorb your attention and has nothing to do with work. Day five, one honest. One time, only once time to do something you would previously have said yes to out of guilt or fear. Say no to that. Maybe try. Maybe try saying no even today. That's all, everyone, for today. And if anybody ever want to reach out to me or to Mir Psychiatric Clinic for any sort of emotional, psychological, mental health challenge, please feel free to contact Mir Psychiatric Clinic. You can also follow me on Instagram. I have mental health page where I share few tips related to mental health. You can follow me there. And I'm here for 10 more minutes. Please, all the questions are welcome. So this is my Instagram handle. I sent you a message in the chat box. Wow, we were 353 people. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a good number, Ira. And thank you so much for this session. I really, really enjoyed it.
Thank
We
you,
have
Hasina.
opened the floor for Q&A, and before we take the questions, I would like you all to know that yes, we have recorded the session. If you could please reach out to your respective HRs, we'll happily share the recording as well as the presentation and all the slides. I was also thinking if you are able to share the presentation on the chat so everyone will have it right away.
Sure, I will do
Is that
that.
a
Yes.
possibility?
Yeah,
Okay.
let me do it. I need to attach a file, right?
Yes.
I am very bad with technology.
It's okay. I can help you with that. I guess you'll have to click on the plus sign in the chat.
Yeah, I did that. And now it's loading the apps.
And while we are doing that, please feel free to put in your questions in the chat box and we'll take it.
No, I don't get it. It takes me to the apps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, if you can
I
send it
will
to
share
me,
it with
I
you,
will.
please. Yeah, I will send it to
Yes.
you.
Yes. So I'll read out a few comments, Ira, that we are receiving in the chat box, and they sound beautiful. The person says, "Thank you so much for such an amazing session. I love the part about reframing our mindset. It was a great example of adopting a growth mindset. Could you also share some practical tips on how we can consistently maintain these positive practices, particularly when it comes to setting healthy boundaries and confidently saying no?"
If you really wanna consistently do that, ask yourself what makes me afraid to say no. When I'm saying no to someone, what is that fear or assumption or the movie that goes into my head? If I say no, what will happen? So, whatever imagination you have in your brain, ask yourself, is it 100% true? What am I thinking? Because most of the time, we are just overestimating what's going to happen. But most of the time, it's not true. So, I think just a self reflection, it will always help you to say no confidently when you are not afraid.
That's so true. We are also receiving more comments on how the vibe and energy of this session was great. And people are obviously thanking you a lot for
Thank you.
delivering this session. A person is sharing that it is difficult to keep the phone outside of the bedroom before to sleep. We have become quite addicted to our phones, which is true.
Mhm. Which is true. So, if today you are brave enough to use the word addicted, let's take one more brave step to actually break that addiction. And I was also one of them because we all went into this trap. But now, what I have started, I charge my phone in the living and I take my book in the bedroom and I have a lamp and I start to read a book because we've got into this habit, we cannot fall asleep without scrolling. So, but honestly, if you start to read a book, that book pages, it will make you fall asleep. So, start to read a book. Keep your phone outside. And I'm so glad that you used this word and you acknowledged it.
That is so true. I mean, yeah, we have definitely gotten addicted, and just these small mindful efforts will help you a long way and help you um, um, get rid of the habits that are eventually not good for our system.
Wow, I got 11 followers from the session. That's interesting.
That's a great one. The person says, I disconnect my Wi Fi on phone when I go to bed, so I have no choice but just to sleep. That's a good way as well.
That's a good way, but I will tell you one thing. Actually, it's proven by research that if you still have phone in your bedroom, this is the first thing you will do in the morning. And we don't want to do that. So I understand. Actually, I'll give you my example. My parents live back home, and and they are old, so there is, in the back of my head, there is always a fear that, okay, what if it's an emergency call from back home and I'm not able to take it? So what I have done, I always switch off my Wi-Fi. So there is no sound of any notification, but my phone is always on a ringtone and it's in the living room, which is closer to my bedroom. So if there is a call, I would hear. So if there is any emergency, someone will call you. They will not send you a message, they will call. So trust that you will be able to hear it.
That's so
Hopefully.
true. And we have a person actually mentioning the same thing, that he's constantly worried about what if something urgent comes up and someone needs me, if, they are keeping their phones away.
Yeah.
But this is a good way to turning off the Wi-Fi and keep your
Yeah.
phone on loud.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to someone who finds it difficult to disconnect from work after office hours?
I think you have to ask yourself self-reflection. Remember this slide where you can score yourself. If you cannot disconnect, it means you have a huge problem with the understanding the work-life balance. So the first thing first, look at the presentation, do those questionnaires, acknowledge that I am not able to disconnect and I am going to take a step. Now, the step I have already given, 5 days plan. Follow that 5 days plan. It's just for 5 days and see how you feel. One step at a time.
Yeah. Then, I mean, we have a lot of thank yous, Ira. Thank you so much. It has really proved that charging phones may cause health issue because of the radiations come out of the phone. That's so true. How can I tell the difference between stress that's motivating me and stress that's quietly damaging my health long term?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a very good
differentiate with good
question.
stress. Yeah, good stress and
That's a
bad stress.
very, okay. So the stress is, the good stress is you have taken an action. Without anxiety, you felt that you are able to perform and you did good. So when you are doing that task under that stress, and when you have finished this task, you are satisfied with that. There is this sense of fulfillment that I completed it, I did it. So you feel happy with that. But the bad stress is you actually, first of all, are procrastinating. You are not even starting because you are very stressed, or you started but you cannot focus and you did not finish. And the third sign is you finished, but still you are not happy. You are afraid. You are still under pressure. Okay, what I did. So you're not happy. There is negativity. There is cynicism related to it. So that is the bad stress.
Ira, somebody is requesting for you to share the self-assessment slide, if you can, once
Mhm.
again.
Yeah. Okay. My screen is still share, right? You guys can
Yes,
see? Okay.
yes, we can see it. Somebody wants to know how can they get in touch with you separately. So I believe you've already shared your contact details.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Instagram handle is there, and specifically, I make a content in Urdu and Hindi for South Asian communities, but there are always subtitles in English. Also, you can connect with me through Mir Psychiatry Clinic. And many times I do question Q&A on Instagram. This is where we can also talk. Yeah. And I'm always here at Mir Psychiatric Clinic. Also, I'm available at Faki University Hospital for consultations for inpatient.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
A person here is expressing, Ira, that he or she schedule their fitness or working, like, training sessions after office hours, but they feel guilty to leave the office because the office is still full till late hours. So,
Hmm.
how do they help themselves in this?
Yeah, they just leave. They just leave because, again, leaving when everybody else is there, there is a fear of that I am not competent enough and I am not committed enough. I am the odd one out. So if I leave, other people will have better chances at what they are doing, and I will be losing those chances, right? But you really have to ask yourself, remind yourself, I am safe. I'm a human being. I have a talent. I have specialization. I have skill. I will always figure out my way. So having that self-belief, it's a very long work. It's a therapeutic, a self-improvement journey, honestly, to do that and to get that courage.
That's so true, Ira. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why would you feel guilty for taking care of yourself, of your
Yes.
health and mental
Yes.
well-being? Because if that is not being taken care
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
you will never be able to focus at work any which way,
Yeah.
right?
And I think the guilt of leaving work, not getting back to work, there is a very, I think, opposite side we can say. Be honest with yourself and ask yourself, if I was at work for 8 hours, did I give those 8 hours to work, or I wasted those hours, or I was distracted and I was not productive enough? If you think that you are 8 hours at work and you have actually accomplished a lot, you should not feel guilty about it. You should have your own self satisfaction that I gave what I was supposed to give. Now it's time for me to grow. But honestly, like when inside we know that those 8 hours I wasted for and just worked for, of course we will feel more guilty.
That is true. There's a thought here that I would love to share. This person says that this person was going through short-tempered issue, and he or she tried 1 week for doing digital detox, no
Mm-hmm.
social media, nothing, and it actually helped the person. Now the person has made it a habit to do 1 week of social and screen detox once in a month for 1 week. Wow.
That's amazing, because again, when you do the detox, basically you recover. And we see a lot, there is a lot of like input, sensory input on social media. So it overwhelms us. We spoke about recovery today. So, yeah, detox is good. But in the long run, for this person, I would like to suggest, rather than doing like a 1 week of detox, maybe reach to a stage in your life when you have everything in balance. You don't have to remove something from your life. It just becomes a part of your life, but not the most important part of your life. It's just something there. So maybe next goal should be for you is to understand the balance where you don't have to delete all the apps.
That's a lovely thought, Ira. The next question I would like to take is, how should I set the boundaries between wanting to grow in the organization and work-life balance? Because as a less experienced person, it is expected of me to compromise my personal life if I want to grow and get promoted.
At the end, our life is a reflection of our choices. And today you acknowledge this, right? You said it that it's expected from me and I need to do this. You really have to ask yourself, what are my priorities? So if your priority is to grow and to growth means giving more hours of work, maybe again, in the beginning we spoke about boundary is not to work less, it's to recover. So if you are spending maybe 10 hours a day at work, are you taking at least 1 hour to recover? Because if you're passionate and if you want to give more hours to work, I understand. Maybe that's your priority. But then on the same hand, recover also. 2 hours at least where you are not connected with anything. Maybe go to gym, prioritize your health also. So yeah, it's all about the priorities and our choices that we make.
Thank you so much, Ira. Do let me know your hard stop because we do have a lot of questions and I can keep taking them. But
Actually, we
whenever.
are done.
Mhm.
I have a
Okay.
patient now.
All right. So,
Actually, Shivani, it's always lovely to connect with everybody. Uh, yeah, so I attended, I shared it. Thank you so much, everyone. It's the most interactive audience I always talk with, and I always feel so. There comes out of the phone. Yeah, I always feel very excited and motivated to always conduct these sessions. Thank you.
thank you so much, Ira. And thanks to everyone for attending this session. Please feel free to reach out to Ira directly. I know there were a lot of questions that we could not take due to time constraint, but if you have any questions that you would like them to be answered, please reach out to Ira directly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good day, everybody.